Hello, good afternoon here in Australia. I live in Vietnam as well. My name is Juan Bautista Propato. I currently work for Football West in Western Australia. Before I was in New Zealand for over 13 years. In the middle I was in Germany, Argentina, a little Belgium, Cuba, all over the place. But today we have the privilege to talk to James. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good. Thanks, Juan. The privilege is all mine. I always love catching up with you and sharing our stories and what we've been doing. But it's fantastic. We haven't seen each other for maybe a couple of years now, but yeah, it's always great to talk to you.
Yeah, it is a strange feeling because I think now talking to yourself before we start the interview almost felt like we met, I don't know, last month or whatever, but yeah, been a little while where we see each other, but with Facebook and social media, you see what you're doing and you see what I'm doing, but it's hard to keep up with both of us, not just with myself. So tell me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Juan. I've been similar to yourself. I've been globetrotting for the last, how many years now? Nearly 20 years, I guess. Not quite, but close, maybe up to 15, 16 years. So I left the United Kingdom after I finished university, where I was still studying for law degree. And then I went to live in Korea, where I really started to be involved in full-time coaching. And then I was in Korea for around about 10 years with a short gap back in the United Kingdom. And then after Korea, I moved to Vietnam and then spent last 5 years in Vietnam. And then in that period now, the last 5 years, I've been lucky enough to spend some time in Bangladesh as well in the last 6 months. So I'm not sure I've got as many countries as you yet, Juan, but I'm trying to catch up.
You're getting there. So, and what about playing? What do you remember playing back in England?
So for me, when I was always a good footballer, but not the best. Like I wasn't professional level. I was playing in the School of Excellence and the academy level and the regional football. That was where I was at in the UK. When I got to about 18, when I went to university, I didn't really play for like 3 or 4 years because I was concentrating on my studies, but also once you had been playing so much up until the age of 18, without really enjoying the other things that young men's social lives get involved in, I hadn't really had that opportunity because I was always focused on my football, always trying to achieve. So I maybe took a break because obviously I knew at that point that there was no real, not going to be any future opportunity for professional football. But when I got to Korea, I started playing regional football again at a good standard and really enjoyed my football then and had a great opportunity to learn about not only my own desires that's where the first desires to coach came from, but really dig deep into what was the right things to be doing on and off the field. So it was a great opportunity there. I did that for about 10 years and had a great time playing in Korea. And then when we were back in the UK, I went back again to playing regional football. But again, trust my luck, I got injured again within about 3 games of the season. So I had another 2 years off football. And now I'm just in Vietnam. I'm playing recreational football, playing for fun. And the little speed that I did have has gone. So I can only moving the ball now and trying to keep up with the younger kids.
Me too, so don't worry, not only you. So we are on the same.
It happens to us all.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. It's one of the things I would like to have is that a little more pace, and sometimes when I play with the young, come on, Juan, and I say, I'm trying, I just can't do it. It's just like I'm fit, whatever, but just the pace is gone. So what do you remember about your coaches when you were in England? Do you have any good and bad memories from a coach back in England that you would like to share with?
Yeah, I've got some great memories of my coaches back in England from the youngest ages.
Which one is your city in England, by the way?
Sorry, which city?
Which one is your city in England for the people that don't know about you?
Oh, okay. So I'm from Birmingham, some Birmingham area. Yeah, so in the Midlands. So Yeah, from a very youngest age, you have the coaches who are your dad, who are the dads of the team, and they're always helping. And there's one very memorable coach who I think he first took us for about I think we were 5 or 6 years old, and I think he coached us for about 5 years. His name was Keith. He was just a dad, but he was one of the parents who was interested in the coaching, and he did a really good job, and we all enjoyed ourselves. And it was a really nice environment in terms of you see a lot of coaches now, or dad coaches, hobby coaches who are involved in the game, and they take it incredibly seriously, and they kind of think that their young boy or their young girl is playing for the World Cup. But I remember at that time it was kept a lot of fun, and that's what built my interest in the game. And at that same time, I had a really good coach who was in a school of excellence, who was he was an ex-professional in the United Kingdom, and that was a chap called Pat Wright, and he played in various clubs in the United Kingdom, and he really first instilled that focus on how to be better, and he was the first person who really showed me, reflecting, looking back on it, really showed the first intervention kind of idea that
really?
we would recognize now. And he went, and I remember we used to train 2 times or 3 times a week, and it was advanced players, elite players, and trying to get to that next level to go into the club environment. And he used to lots of possession, lots of technique, and he used to step in, and he would stop it and freeze the play and give demos and ask questions. And that was how many years ago? Nearly 25 to 30 years ago. And that always sticks in my mind. And I don't know, at that time, not all coaches were doing that. So I think he was very much ahead of his time. And Pat is, I still believe he has his academy. He's in the UK now, in the Midlands area. And he was he took us on trips all around the country to play and to perform and to showcase. And also took us on international trip. One international trip that I remember very well was to Holland, and we played against some of the great teams in Holland, their youth teams, and they were memorable moments, magical moments. And those are the kind of things, those memories are the ones that I really try to instill in the youth football, because they shaped my game and built my love for it, and shaped my desire to be within the game rather than doing something else. So those are great coaches. And then senior coaches, some good senior coaches, some not so good. But as I mentioned, that when I got to Korea, I kind of ended up in this role of being a player coach at a very young age. So I've only got myself to blame for my own bad playing habits. But
okay. So in Korea, you were playing and coaching as well, both.
Yeah, it was a unique experience at the time. The standard of regional football was developing in Korea. We were in a city called Ulsan, and at that time, Korea didn't specifically have regional leagues for every different city or every different area. And we were lucky that the area we lived in did. But being that as it was, there wasn't a lot of great experience or willingness to be the coach or be the player. So naturally, my own personality being quite forward and quite leader, being a natural leader, I kind of took on that role and learned very quickly that it's very difficult to play and coach.
Yeah, I did in New Zealand. I found it really difficult to do both.
Did you have the same experience, Juan? Did you play and coach?
Yeah. I did it later in New Zealand, and to be honest, I hate it. I didn't like it at all. People were not coming to training, and then they were blaming the coach. That was me. And he's like, well, we only have 5-6 players that, I'll do it the Tuesday and Thursday session. We have half in one session, half in the other session. We come up to on the weekend, and we want to play, like Barcelona. It's not going to happen, even if, I think I'm a good coach. We shall need to work together better, yeah, the year after I changed and I went and played because I say if I do both again, that's it. I coach or play, but both together is just took the enjoyment
Difficult.
away. Yeah, really difficult. But what and then so if we think about coaching, what are the difference that you see between Korea, Vietnam, Bangladesh in the way you coach, or you coach the same in the three countries, the same way?
For me, Juan, I coach the same way. I've definitely developed so much more from moving from Korea through to Vietnam. My knowledge and my technique has developed, and it is still developing. Coaching is something that you will never be perfect at. There's always something to learn. There's always something to improve. There's always a developmental area. And that comes from reflection at yourself. You have to really look at yourself and see what you're delivering to the players, or be those youth players or senior players, and be critical of yourself. Not critical to put yourself down, but say, did I get that right? Was my message clear? Was my session providing the right environment for subliminal learning to occur? And really dig deep and delve deep. But if I'm looking at the different styles,
how do you analyze that? You're talking about almost a self-evaluation. How do you do that? Do you have a template? Do you record yourself? What do you do?
I think it's really important periodically to record yourself, and it doesn't have to be the whole time, but especially if you do it within like a set schedule, maybe once or twice a month. If you record a session and really look back and listen to the words that you're using, the methods of delivery, the session itself, that's really important. It's also important for myself after sessions and after games to really think about it, deep dive into what I did, what I said, the reaction of the players, speak to the players as well, and get their feedback, and not be afraid of that feedback. And also speak to my peers, my other coaches, coaches who are with me, even who are my senior to me, or coaches who are junior to me. Speak to them and get their feedback, and be open to that feedback. Because one big thing that I love to say to myself, and also I say to my coaches and players, is that correction is not criticism. Correction is a tool to help you improve. So take it on board, write it down, and try to be better the next time that you go out onto the field, either in a game to coach, managing the game, or into a session. So yeah, and it's not always about going through a set of questions. You can do it that way if that's the way you work. It's more about just thinking about what happened and being honest with yourself, because I know there's a lot of tools out there, self-assessment tools, whereby it asks a lot of questions, but it's really easy just to say, yes, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. No problem. But be honest with yourself, because we're all learning. And I think every coach in the world, Pep Guardiola, Jurgen Klopp, Jose Mourinho, all the coaches, I'm just mentioning the British one, well, not the British ones, the ones working in the Premier League, but they're not perfect. And they always admit to being eternal learners of the game and students of the game. And I think that's important. And you can learn from everybody. Any coach you can take little bits, and it's really important. But if you were going to look slightly about the different styles of coaching in the different countries, there is a very distinct style in each country, very distinct. Korea is very regimented, very disciplined, a lot of patterns of play, a lot of formulas, and less creativity. That's how it is in Korea, but it's really structural. But it is effective. Technique is fantastic. But for me, and maybe those who have watched recent World Cups, there's a lack of creativity. That special player that unlocks defenses. Uh, Vietnam. Vietnam's still developing its football environment. Some new coaches coming through, some new ideas, which is really helping develop that. And they are a little bit more open to allowing the players to find their own way, more creative, more skillful, less patterns of play. And Vietnam's really impressing in terms of its national team currently and really improving. So that's it's a really big step forward. And then in Bangladesh, there's some great coaches in Bangladesh, some really good foreign coaches and some good local coaches as well. But there is still a lot of development to be done there in terms of the theory of the game, technically in terms of fitness and conditioning. There's lots of nutrition. There's lots of improvements to be made. But that's the same in Vietnam as well. There's still a huge, needs to be a huge look into the nutritional aspect of the game, whereas the fitness is kind of there now. But very distinct styles across all three different countries.
Yeah, I mean, I never work in any of those three countries yet. But if you see Koreans or Japanese, like you say, they almost. I went to Japan. I went to watch Yokohama's Marinos because many River Plate players used to play there. And I was amazed. The coach looked to another side and they were practicing technique. And the players are like boom, 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 boom for 10 minutes. When in New Zealand, Australia, they are a little better. Maybe 1 or 2 minutes, you don't look, hey, they were marking around, whatever. The Japanese play, really focused. Now we need to do this, run here and there. But I guess when it's ABC, then when you play, it's ABC. And then those creative players, we are killing them. And even if you look at the English team, at the World Cup, they did really well because that team have a lot of young players. They've been playing together for a while in under 20s and different competitions. And they are expressing themselves. And because, I think most of the English people didn't believe in that team. I did say that they could do well because the group was quite easy. And then the round of 16 or the quarterfinal looked quite all right. I said to my friend, watch out, they might do all right. And I hope they go around. And I think those two factors, the people didn't put too much pressure, and the way young players that they want to prove everyone, not just the English people, that they could do well, they did it. Isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one the really interesting point about the English side and in the last World Cup and also the current England crop of players, not just the ones that are in the national team, but the ones that are gracing the Premier League this season, is that I think England has come away from this idea of overcoaching the players. So I believe that it's a really dangerous thing to do. If you have a talent, a natural born maverick, somebody who has something inside their football ability that they've learned somewhere, talent, obviously they're born with certain attributes that makes that talent easier to gain. But some players really don't need to be coached all that much. And I think that's really important because if you coach the creativity out of a player, that's the real problem. And in the UK now, we have a talented bunch of players who, when they have an opportunity to express themselves, are being allowed to do that. And they're not afraid to do it. And I think that's really important. I think a lot of coaches, we're given a set of guidelines or a set of tools that we use. And we should do this. We should run with the ball then. We should pass it here. We should do that. Got to be careful. That's only suitable for certain players. If you find somebody who has intrinsic talent, who is really talented, then you just guide them along. You say, okay, don't do this. Say, okay, that was great, well done, and can you do this and do that again? That's where we're gonna get more creative players. And we all know, watching World Cups of the last 30 years. The team with those one or two special players, with alongside a team of players who are well coached. But those are special players are the ones that make the teams go the furthest and win ultimately.
Yeah. No, that is true, isn't it? So, following from your conversation about different countries, so we did talk about Korea and then Vietnam. From games I watched recently, they improved heaps. The national team been doing really well. So I guess if they use system as well, improving and the juniors as well in Vietnam, or still plenty of work to do?
Yeah, it's 100% improving. Like the system in Korea has been in place for a good amount of time now. And as you can see, Korea's football ranking is stable. They're always good. They always have quality. It's only within the last 5 years, 5 or 6 years, that the grassroots and the academy, the team academy and the youth levels have really been introduced to Vietnam. So now most clubs, not most, but a reasonable amount of clubs have their youth levels. They have they're under 15s, they're under 17s, and they're under 19s, and they're under 21s. There is still a genuine lack of elite academy football for the youngest age groups, and that's something that we all know, that those golden years between 5 and 14 is something that is really necessary. And yeah, there's still room for improvement, but there's a fantastic setup in Hanoi called the PVF Academy, and they're definitely heading in the right direction. And it's 100% evident that the rise in the ranking and the quality of the national football team is related to the fact that proper processes, proper academy level football is being introduced in Vietnam.
Yeah, no, I saw that at the Asia Cup, and I was really, really impressed with Vietnam. So, yeah, I won't be surprised if we see Vietnam soon at the World Cup. And then Bangladesh and India been, particularly India, been spending a lot of money on the Super League and whatever. I guess maybe the problem over there, you are there, you work over there, is maybe the structure is not there. They're working on it. I know, for example, Ronaldinho Gaúcho went and play and all the stuff, but they were pumping money, but don't know if they got the right players at the right time. So are they changing things around? Can you see an improvement? So still.
Yeah, and there's so much opportunity in India and Bangladesh. The country has a huge population, huge youth population, and it's all about organization. There is not enough coaching at grassroots level. So in Bangladesh specifically, when we're getting players who are graduating from some kind of organized football, but not properly organized football, very limited. There are some aspects of technique that as a young professional, 18, 19, 20, they simply are still learning. And okay, we're still learning at 18, 19, 20, we all are. But some things that if there was a better structure in place, that they would learn much earlier. And it's not about anything else. They have the physicality, they have the athleticism. They need help with knowing the right things to do in terms of diet, fitness and conditioning. But it is an absence of grassroots football. And there has been an effort even in the time I've been there's been an effort, and some fantastic coaches from the United Kingdom have come over to work with the national team. Andy Turner, Rob Riles, Bobby Mims, Jamie Day, Stuart Watkins, and they've all been involved in the national team setup, and of course the national team head coach Jamie Day. But the things that they're trying to do and they're trying to put in place, that it's not always easy, because facilities are lacking, which is a huge thing. If you don't have the right facilities, and if you don't have the right follow through, and if it's it's not continuous and it's not consistent, then it's just touching the surface. And I know that all the chaps that I just mentioned who are involved in the national team setup, they have a huge desire to continue it, and they see the talent. It's just Bangladesh, and I can't comment so much on India, but definitely in Bangladesh, there is a desire to do it, but it needs to be more consistent. It needs to be more consistent.
Very good. No, that's a good insight. What about mentors? Who is your biggest mentor?
So for me, Juan, I like to try to take little bits from everybody. There's so many friends like yourself. My head coach, who I'm working with in Bangladesh currently, Sean Lane, and who I met on my A license, and he's the one who invited me over to Bangladesh. He's somebody that has got a huge amount of experience in football, and I learn a lot from Sean. And along my career, there's gonna lots of other coaches, lots of other people that I like to tap into, but I don't like to specifically say that I've got one mentor, because there's good parts of everybody. There's good parts of everybody's coaching. And if you go along and you take a little bit, you take all the good bits and you put it all together, you have to have your own ideas, your own philosophy, and your own style. And there's loads of people, the list goes on, that the people I talk to about football, but you have to identify what it is you want to do, your authenticity, and be true to yourself, and make sure, as I said, continue to be a reflective coach. And then I think that's the way you get to find your own style and your own ideas. But always, as I said, always tapping into the knowledge and the talent of others, making sure that you don't get stuck in this idea that you've done it well, you know everything, when simply that's not true. It's really important to keep learning and keep following what's the common trends in football, and ask questions of everybody you meet. If you see something that you like in a coaching environment, find out. Don't be scared. Always ask the question, because most coaches, they'll be receptive to that. All the good ones anyway. And that's what I try to do as well. When people come and ask me and they want to be part of something, then I'm more than happy to help and share, because that's how we're all going to improve. We actually reflect more and reflect probably more effectively when we're sharing than when we're actually coaching ourselves.
Yeah, correct. Listen, and today, you just Google the name. Maybe if you don't have the contacts, you can see Twitter here and there. You might get in touch. So I guess it's easier, especially if they're approachable, to get in touch with those coaches.
Yeah, and there's absolutely, yeah, Juan. And there's a thing I'm doing now with a chap, one of my good friends, colleagues, and also a mentor. His name's Matt Ward. We're doing some podcasts with some coaches from around the world who have had lots of experiences. And a couple of them that we've done, one was with Sean, one was with Spencer Fern, and one was with Louis Lancaster, just in the last 2 weeks. And when you listen to these guys and really dig into the information, it's really great. And I can always recommend to all coaches, try to be active in your learning. Listen to podcasts, get online, do the free online courses. It doesn't always have to be something that's paid. Read books, watch videos, and take the good bits from it, because everybody's got some golden nuggets of information. You take the best bits from everyone, and then you're going to be on the right path.
Yeah, correct. So how do you structure your session? How do you normally run a session, or how do you did it when you started, and how do you do it now? What is the progression, or what are the key points that you think you changed from the beginning to now?
Okay, so I think the key thing for maybe the coaches listening in to understand is that I started off in youth football, and I set up my 2 academies, one in Korea and one in Vietnam. And then gradually I moved into senior football in Vietnam and now in Bangladesh. And I think the key thing, no matter whether it's youth or senior football, is that you have to have a clear message. One or two clear messages that you want to get over to the players. And it's not a game. Obviously, football's a game, but you don't have to make it a quiz or a trick. Make it very obvious from the outset what the players are trying to achieve. And that's by telling them, first off, this is what we're going to look at. This is what we're going to do today. And this is what we're looking for. The big message, the session objective, if you want to call it like that. And then be very, very, very clear that how you set the session up, be it a small-sided game, be it a passing practice, be it an 11-a-side, be it a 9v9, whatever it is, make it obvious so that the player, so you don't have to keep repeating it, what it is that you're trying to achieve. So if you're working on combination play in the middle third, make sure that ideally your session is set up in the middle third. There's lots of chances for combinations. There's goal scoring opportunities. There's direction, and there's organization. So that when you came out, even if you hadn't have said it, they'll go, yeah, we were working on combination play, quick touches, 1-2 touches. Make it obvious, because we all know that, yeah, we have to have interventions. We have to step in. We have to ask questions. But if you set the session up right, a lot of those questions will be answered for you. And we as footballers ourselves know that what we like to do, we like to play football. So if you can make it a subliminal learning experience, you're going to make your life a lot easier. Maybe if you're asking me, Juan, what I used to do when I was an inexperienced coach, I would have probably said that too many of my practices were isolated and not a holistic approach, not a game-related approach. Whereas now, having studied more on coaching, had more experience, I do it the other way around. Everything is tried to be game-related and holistic, and all the individual aspects will be done at a separate time. So when you've got your players together and you've got an opportunity to work with them, or when everybody's there, it's really important to do exactly that, to make sure that you have that opportunity to work with them and do the holistic side of the game. But then use other opportunities to, when they're not, when they can come before practice, or they can stay after practice, or all those different opportunities, so that they can learn and they can practice the isolated things on their own, because both are important. Players don't just develop, they develop the ability to make decisions, they develop the game model within the practices. But without technique and without practicing technique, be that shooting, passing, whatever it is, first touch, they're never going to be able to do some of the things that you want them to do in the game-related situations.
Yeah, so there were a couple of things there on the message to your players. I remember doing my A license, and you need to record the halftime talk, whatever. And then I was watching myself, and then you think that was really clear. And then I went watch it again, and then watch it another time. And I could see that what I was saying on the whiteboard was not exactly what I was saying. I was like, I was saying, can we, blah, blah, blah. And then the other thing was something, can we 3 passes or whatever. And I was like, well, I'm saying to do this, and the players are reading, and it's not exactly what I'm saying. The idea was the same, but the message, we could say, was not clear. Then the more you do it, and then you see yourself, you watch yourself, or the players maybe won't tell you that, But if you have an assistant coach or whatever, and his task will be, can you have a look when the players I'm talking to them, if they're looking at me or if other players are doing this, or if what I'm saying is clear or not clear, or you can ask the players. Sometimes I ask the players. Sometimes at halftime, the team didn't change at all, and what I thought was like coming here and going on the other side. And then one of the players said, oh, this was not working and you didn't talk about that, or whatever. Sometimes to have the players and chip into the players, ask them for feedback at that time, that could be crucial because you are missing out on a message that they have, but you are not asking them for feedback as well. So is that, are you clear? And if not, maybe the players potentially could help you to be more clear about that message.
Yeah, absolutely, Juan. Your biggest asset in football are the players. So they're the ones, as I said, and coaches need to make sure that they're not. Not that they're not scared. They're open to that feedback. And maybe pick carefully which players you ask, because we all know that some players have better intuition than others.
Yes.
But have a careful think about that, but don't always go to the player who's going to say, yes, coach, that was magnificent, coach. Think about who you're asking and ask them to be honest. And you're going to learn more. And ultimately, your players are going to make you a better coach just as much as you're going to make the players better players or perform better.
Yeah, no, correct. And the other one was about the intervention, again, probably with you having the same with the intervention when you go and watch your videos, watch yourself. It doesn't have to be someone coming, just your cell phone or whatever. You can watch yourself and see what you're doing. And the interventions, how long do you do it? Again, is clear message? Are you showing the picture that you're talking about? And it's amazing how, again, doing the A license with more detail, whatever. Yes, it is detailed, but you don't want in 2 minutes to give them all the player tasks and action, whatever. And the player, when they start again, what are we doing then? And then it's like, well, you were not clear the way you were talking. Are you showing the picture, the actions? Are you talking to the players in general, or talking to one player? So it's just, like you say, you need to be a master of that. And the more you do it on the field, you watch yourself, you have your players giving you feedback, your team giving you feedback, you get better and better.
Yeah, it's critical. And as you said there, it doesn't have to be a big setup with a video camera. You just ask one of your colleagues or somebody who's working with you or anyone, bring somebody along, if like a boyfriend, girlfriend, wife, whatever it is, say, can you just video this? When I go in, can you just video me and watch it back? And you'll absolutely be amazed about the learning just from that small little tool, the mobile phone that we're always on. Use it to your advantage. And yeah, I think it's hugely important. And talking about the interventions, it does really depend on the level of player that you're speaking to. So you got to make sure you pitch it right. So if you're working with a youth team player, you've got to make sure you pitch it at their level, so they're going to understand. If you're working with a senior player, you could have somebody who really takes information in well. So you pitch that, or you go in and you pitch it to somebody who you're like, well, if I say one thing, they're going to get it. If I say two things, they're going to get lost. It's you got to know your players. The key to making sure you're successful is, all the best philosophies, all the best game plans, all the best ideas in the world. If you don't know your players, forget it. You have to have a personal understanding of each and every player and what makes them tick, what motivates them, how they learn, how they listen. You got to know your players.
Yeah, no, that is true, isn't it? And then to have the trust from the players that what you're saying and what you're doing is the best for them, for everyone on the team, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And they've got to know that you've got their best interests at heart, that you got to make them feel special. We were all footballers once.
Yeah.
And the best player, the best coaches, the ones who got the most out of us were the ones who made us feel special, who gave us that little bit of information. Those are the things. And that didn't, when I'd say make you feel special, that's not always going to the player and saying, oh, well done, well done. It can equally by going in and saying, hey, James, Juan, why didn't you do that? You can do better. You should do this. Okay, coach, thanks for noticing. Yes, I will do it.
Yeah.
But you got to know what makes your players tick.
Yeah, no, that's true. And how do you see the future?
Future of football or future for me?
Well, the future of everything really, to football, this current situation.
Yeah, so I think we all have to be really realistic about the current situation. It's everybody, governments, healthcare services, doctors, nurses, scientists, the military, the front line, the politicians. They're all trying their best to get us out of the current situation. And obviously we could dig deep and say some are doing a better job than others, but it's not easy. There's no easy answer to what we're currently facing. It's something completely new for our generation. And I think we need to be patient, and we need to try to support those who are vulnerable, those who might be coming across financial difficulty, those who might slip through the gaps. I think that's everybody's responsibility. It's not just government services. It's if you've got a friend or you've got people who you know who might be suffering, then it's up to each and every one of us to help out and find a way to assist. Because I think until we find some way of treating the virus or a vaccine to the virus, we're going to be in difficult and uncertain times for a while. And we must all make sure that we take responsibility in what we can do as individuals to assist.
That's it. Yeah.
And that doesn't mean we have to go out and find the cure ourselves. We just have to look after our neighbors, look after our friends, look after the vulnerable. If we've got something that we can give, that could be time, that could be money, that could be anything to keep people spirits up, as well as making sure that they're food, they're fed and they're housed. That's what we all have to do. So again, that's a coaching thing. We all have to take responsibility, and I think that everybody can do something. So everybody try and do something to help is what it is. That's the opinion I'm taking. And I know that I've got my sister who's on the front line in the NHS, and I'm very proud of what she's doing. And I know it's not easy, and all those NHS workers or National Health Service workers across the world, absolute heroes. And I can't say anything, speak any more highly of the sacrifices that they're making, and thank you to them. That's what I see. That's how I see it for now.
Yeah. No, we appreciate all the work they're doing out there, and like you say, I agree. The government is something new for everyone, so everyone is trying to do the best for the best interest for the country, for everyone. So yeah, patient, positive, in touch, helping each other more than ever. So anything else that we didn't cover that you would like to share?
No, not too much. It's just I think the future for football, we will get back out on the field. And I know all of us who love football and have our careers in football or are young footballers, make sure that you're trying to do your best to upskill yourself in these times. Me personally, I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. I'm reading a lot of books. I'm doing setting fitness videos for any player, my own academy players, and also my team in Bangladesh, Dhaka Mohammedan, for them to follow. But they're open to everybody. Make sure that you're not just sitting at home. Make sure you're practicing your own. If you're a youth footballer, get the football out. Do your ball mastery skills. I've seen Juan on the internet doing his ones. I'm sure all the coaches out there. I've got my own videos that I've sent out as well. And I actually think at the age of 36, 37 now, I'm going to have a better touch when I go back out and play than I ever did before, because I've been practicing so much in the last month and a half. Yeah, just make sure that we know we are going to get back to football. Let's just be patient, and we'll get there. And when we're out there, it will just be a really great reminder of why we love the game so much. And when we go out back, get a chance to go back out on the field, let's make sure we're doing all the right things, and we're respecting the referees, we're respecting the coaches, we're respecting the parents, because without everybody's involvement, there really would be no opportunity to play this great game that we all love.
That is true, yeah. But yeah, I appreciate your time, and you can watch this yourself soon in YouTube when we upload this video. But I appreciate your time. Thank you for the opportunity to chat to you, and yeah, people who follow you with your videos, practicing your touch. And yeah, we did a tour on your house as well, so you show us your place a little bit.
I had to go and get a drink of water. You know, you forget the water, and everybody make sure you stay hydrated because it's really important. And also, just looking at the size of my hair, I'm going to be really glad when the hairdresser's open again. So
yeah, I was lucky. My wife cut my hair and did quite well. So maybe it's easier hair to cut anyway.
Juan, you always look perfectly groomed. You always look fantastic. I'm very envious of you.
Thanks, I appreciate it.